You were never supposed to need anyone to feel complete. Let that sink in. Not your mother, not your father, not your spouse, not your children, not your friends. Not even God gave you to yourself broken, waiting for someone else to finish the job. You came whole, fully loaded, entirely equipped. The loneliness you feel right now, that's not emptiness. That's the sound of your own voice you've been running from your entire life. See, most people spend their whole existence trying to escape themselves. They fill their calendars. They chase relationships. They create noise where there should be silence because they're terrified of what they'll find when everybody leaves the room. But here's what nobody told you. The greatest relationship you will ever have is the one you build with the person in the mirror. And until you master that conversation, every other connection in your life will be contaminated with your unresolved chaos. I'm not talking about being antisocial. I'm not preaching isolation. I'm talking about something far more dangerous to your mediocrity. I'm talking about self-sufficiency of the soul. I'm talking about becoming so grounded in your purpose, so clear about your assignment, so connected to your source that whether people stay or leave, whether they cheer or criticize, whether they understand or abandon you, your joy remains untouched. Your peace stays intact. Your vision keeps moving. Because here's the brutal truth. Most motivational speakers won't tell you people will fail you. Not because they're evil, but because they're human. They will disappoint you. They will misunderstand you. They will leave you standing in the middle of your greatest need with nothing but broken promises and empty chairs. And if your happiness is handcuffed to their presence, you will live your entire life as an emotional hostage. Listen to me carefully. A lion doesn't lose sleep over the opinion of sheep. But more than that, a lion doesn't need a pride to know it's a lion. It knows what it is when it wakes up. It knows its power. It knows its purpose. It doesn't gather other lions just to feel legitimate. The pride is a bonus, not a requirement. The same must become true for you. Your identity cannot be a group project. I want you to think about something. When a manufacturer creates a product, they don't send it into the world incomplete, hoping someone will figure out what it's for. No. Every product leaves the factory fully functional with an instruction manual, with a purpose already embedded in its design. A microwave doesn't need a toaster to validate its existence. A car doesn't sit in the driveway depressed because it's not a plane. Everything knows what it was made to do, and it does it with or without applause. But you've been convinced that you're unfinished, that you're somehow defective without another person completing your sentence. You've been taught that joy comes from external sources, another paycheck, another lover, another achievement, another like, another validation. And so you become addicted to people, addicted to approval, addicted to the temporary high of someone else making you feel like you matter. And the moment they withdraw, you collapse. That's not strength. That's dependency dressed up as love. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not saying relationships aren't important. I'm saying they're not your foundation. They're the decoration, not the structure. If the building isn't solid before the guests arrive, the party will destroy the house. You have to be whole before you enter someone else's world. You have to be at peace with your own company before you're ready to share space with another soul. Because here's what happens. When you don't learn this lesson, you start performing. You start editing yourself. You start shrinking so other people feel comfortable. You become a version of yourself that fits into someone else's expectations. And every day you live like that, a piece of the real you dies. And then one day you wake up next to someone surrounded by people and you feel more alone than you've ever felt in your life because you traded authenticity for acceptance. And that trade always leaves you bankrupt. Solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. It's in the alone seasons that you discover who you really are. It's in the silence that you hear the voice of your purpose. It's in the stillness that you confront the lies you've believed about yourself. It's when no one is watching that you finally stop performing and start becoming. Do you know why most people are terrified of being alone? Because they've never met themselves. They've been too busy being who everyone else needed them to be. Too busy performing, too busy pretending, too busy surviving in relationships that were never meant to sustain them. And now, when life finally gives them space to breathe, they panic. They call it loneliness. They call it depression. They call it emptiness. But what they're really experiencing is the first honest moment they've had in years. The seed doesn't complain about the darkness of the soil. It doesn't call for help. It doesn't need a crowd to cheer it into growth. It sits there, buried, invisible, forgotten by the world, and it does the most powerful thing any living thing can do. It transforms in secret. It breaks. It sheds what it used to be. It pushes through pressure. And when it finally breaks the surface, it's no longer a seed. It's a tree. And trees don't beg for attention. They simply provide shade. You are in the soil right now. And I know it feels dark. I know it feels heavy. I know you feel buried, but you're not being punished. You're being planted. And what's happening in you right now, in this season, where it feels like nobody sees you, nobody cares, nobody understands, this is where your roots are going deep. This is where your strength is being formed. This is where you're learning that your life doesn't require an audience to have meaning. There's a difference between being lonely and being alone. Loneliness is a feeling. Solitude is a choice. Loneliness says, I'm not enough. Solitude says, I'm learning to be enough. Loneliness drains you. Solitude restores you. Loneliness makes you desperate. Solitude makes you deliberate. You want to know why so many people end up in toxic relationships? Because they were running from solitude. They were so afraid of their own company that they grabbed the first warm body that paid attention to them. They didn't ask if this person had character. They didn't check if this person had vision. They didn't wait to see if this person even liked the real version of them. They just didn't want to be alone. And that fear cost them years of their life. But the ones who learn to be happy alone, they become dangerous. Not dangerous to others, dangerous to mediocrity, dangerous to fear, dangerous to anything that tries to shrink them, because they're no longer negotiating from a place of desperation. They're no longer settling. They're no longer accepting crumbs and calling it a meal. They know their worth. They know their purpose. And they refuse to waste their time trying to convince anyone to see it. Let me tell you something about happiness. It's not something you find in another person. It's not something you achieve in a title. It's not something you buy with money or earn with sacrifice. Happiness is the byproduct of alignment. When who you are matches what you do. When your life reflects your values. When your time is invested in your calling, that's when happiness shows up. Not before. Not because someone gave it to you, but because you built it from the inside out. And you can't build that while you're distracted. You can't discover that while you're performing for people. You can't access that while you're chasing validation. That kind of peace only comes in the stillness. That kind of clarity only comes in the silence. That kind of strength only comes when you've faced yourself, all of yourself, the good, the broken, the beautiful, the flawed, and you've decided to love what you found. There's a story about a runner who trained for years. Every morning, every evening, rain or shine, this runner sacrificed relationships, sacrificed comfort, sacrificed everything for one goal, to win the race. And then one day, the race happens. The runner crosses the finish line. The crowd erupts. Medals, cameras, interviews, success. But here's what nobody tells you about that moment. After the noise dies down, after the crowd leaves, after the high fades, the runner is standing there alone with a question, now what? See, if you built your entire identity around that race, you're in trouble. If your happiness was tied to that medal, you're lost. Because the finish line is never the end. It's just a marker on a longer road. And the ones who collapse after success, they're the ones who never learn to be happy in the process. They never learn to enjoy the training. They never learn to find peace in the preparation. They were only running for the applause, and applause doesn't last. But the ones who find joy in the journey, the ones who fall in love with the discipline, the sacrifice, the growth, the solitude of the early mornings when nobody's watching, they cross that finish line and they keep running because they're not running for people. They're running for purpose. And purpose doesn't retire. That's what it means to be happy alone. It means your joy is not hostage to circumstances. Your peace is not dependent on people. Your confidence is not borrowed from crowds. You wake up and you know who you are. You know what you're here to do. And whether you do it with a team or do it by yourself, the mission stays the same. Now, I'm going to say something that might sting a little bit. Some of you are not alone because life is cruel. You're alone because you're being pruned. God, the universe, life itself, it's removing people from your circle who were never supposed to be in your future. And you're over here crying about it, mourning it, begging for them to come back. But what you don't realize is that their exit is your promotion. Their absence is making room for your expansion. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because you're about to become too much for them to handle. Stop romanticizing seasons that were meant to expire. Stop trying to resurrect relationships that were meant to teach you, not keep you. Stop begging people to stay in a chapter of your life that you're no longer even in. You're not in lack, you're in transition. And transition always feels like loss before it feels like gain. I want you to understand something about your design. You were created for dominion, not dependence. You were built to rule your world, not beg for permission to exist in it. You were given a mind that can solve problems, hands that can build empires, a voice that can shift atmospheres, and a spirit that can endure storms. And none of it requires another person to activate it. It's already in you. It's been in you. It's waiting for you to stop looking outside and start digging inside. The reason you feel incomplete is not because something is missing. It's because you've been ignoring what's already there. You've been so busy chasing what you don't have that you've neglected what you do. You've been so focused on who left that you forgot to celebrate who stayed you. You stayed. You survived. You're still here, still breathing, still fighting, still hoping. And that alone is proof that you have everything you need to start again. Happiness is not a destination. It's a discipline. It's something you practice every single day by refusing to give your peace away to temporary situations. It's something you build by setting boundaries, by saying no to what doesn't serve you, by walking away from spaces that drain you, by choosing yourself even when it feels selfish, especially when it feels selfish. Because the world will guilt you for self-care. The world will call you cold for choosing peace. The world will label you selfish for protecting your energy. But the world is full of people who sacrificed themselves for others and ended up resentful, bitter, and broken. Don't be them. Be the one who learned that you can't pour from an empty cup. Be the one who refused to betray themselves for applause. Be the one who said, I'd rather be alone and whole than partnered and fractured. And here's the beautiful thing. When you finally become happy alone, when you finally learn to enjoy your own presence, when you finally stop needing external validation to feel valuable, that's when the right people show up. Not because you need them, but because you're ready for them. Not to complete you, but to complement you. Not to fix you, but to journey with you. And that kind of connection, that's the kind that lasts. Because it's not built on desperation. It's built on wholeness. You know, it's interesting. Two whole people creating something together will always be stronger than two broken people trying to use each other as crutches. A partnership should multiply your impact, not divide your identity. A relationship should expand your world, not shrink your dreams. A friendship should sharpen you, not dull your edge. But none of that is possible if you enter those spaces as half a person, hoping someone else will complete you. Let me say it again, because I don't think you heard me. You are already complete. The work is not to find your other half. The work is to discover the fullness of the half you've been ignoring. The work is to fall in love with the person you see when no one else is around. The work is to become so secure in who you are that rejection doesn't destroy you, criticism doesn't define you, and loneliness doesn't scare you. There's power in solitude that crowds will never give you. There's clarity in silence that noise will never provide. There's strength in stillness that chaos will never produce. And the ones who learn to access that power, they become unstoppable. Not because they're perfect, but because they're unshakable. Not because they have all the answers, but because they've learned to trust the process. So here's my challenge to you. Stop running from yourself. Stop filling your life with distractions because you're afraid of what you'll feel in the quiet. Stop settling for surface level connections because you're terrified of being alone. Sit with yourself, journal with yourself, pray with yourself, heal with yourself, laugh with yourself, dream with yourself, build with yourself. Become the person you would want to spend the rest of your life with. Because if you can't stand your own company, why would anyone else? Happiness alone is not about isolation. It's about liberation. It's about breaking free from the prison of other people's opinions. It's about refusing to let your mood be determined by who did or didn't text you back. It's about building a life so rich, so full, so aligned with your purpose that whether people join you or not, you are still fulfilled. And when you get there, when you finally arrive at that place where your peace is not for sale, where your joy is not negotiable, where your purpose is not dependent on applause, you will look back at this season and you will thank it. You will thank the heartbreak that taught you resilience. You will thank the betrayal that revealed your strength. You will thank the loneliness that introduced you to yourself, because it was never about them. It was always about you becoming who you were always meant to be. Let me take you somewhere for a moment. Picture an eagle, magnificent creature, born in the heights. But here's something most people don't know. When an eagle is injured, when its wings are damaged, it doesn't go looking for other birds to carry it. It doesn't form a support group. It doesn't wait for someone to rescue it. It finds a high place, a cliff, a mountain peak, and it sits there, alone, healing, waiting, watching. And when the time is right, when the strength returns, it doesn't need permission to fly again. It just spreads its wings and takes off. You need to become like that eagle. Stop waiting for someone to give you permission to heal. Stop waiting for someone to validate your pain before you deal with it. Stop waiting for applause before you rise. The season of sitting alone on that cliff, that's not your ending. That's your repositioning. You're not stuck. You're being elevated. And the view from up there is going to show you things that the crowd down below could never see. See, most people live their entire lives in the valley because it's comfortable. There are other people there. There's noise, there's activity, there's the illusion of connection, but nothing grows in comfort. Nothing transforms in convenience. The mountain is lonely, the climb is hard, but the perspective you gain, that changes everything. You start to see patterns you missed. You start to recognize the traps you fell into. You start to understand why certain relationships had to end, why certain doors had to close, why certain people had to exit your story. And from that height, you realize something profound. You don't need them to come back. You need you to keep climbing. There's something else I need to address, because I know some of you are sitting there thinking, but I've tried being alone. I've tried being happy by myself, and it didn't work. Let me tell you why it didn't work. You were performing solitude. You weren't living it. You were counting down the days until someone would rescue you from yourself. You were treating alone time like a punishment you had to endure until the universe finally sent you your person. That's not solitude. That's just waiting. And waiting is passive. Growth is active. Being happy alone requires work. It requires you to face the parts of yourself you've been avoiding. It requires you to heal the wounds you've been covering with relationships. It requires you to build the life you keep saying you want instead of waiting for someone to build it with you. It requires you to stop making excuses about why you can't start until conditions are perfect, until you have support, until you feel ready. You will never feel ready. Do it scared. Do it alone. Do it messy, but do it. I want you to think about a sculptor for a moment. When they look at a block of marble, they don't see stone. They see the masterpiece trapped inside. And their job is not to add anything to it. Their job is to remove everything that is in the masterpiece. Every strike of the chisel, every piece that falls away. That's not loss. That's revelation. They're not destroying the marble. They're discovering what was always meant to be. That's what this season is for you. Every person that walked away, they were never part of the final design. Every opportunity that closed, it wasn't aligned with your purpose. Every disappointment, it was redirecting you toward your destiny. You're not losing. You're being refined. And the master sculptor doesn't rush. He doesn't carve according to your timeline or your comfort. He carves until the masterpiece is revealed. And you know what the masterpiece never does? It never begs the discarded pieces to come back. It doesn't mourn what was chipped away. It understands that every loss was necessary for the beauty to emerge. So stop trying to glue back together what was meant to fall off. Stop trying to reverse what was meant to refine you. Stop holding on to dead weight and calling it loyalty. Let it go. Let them go. Let that version of yourself go. Because who you're becoming has no room for who you used to be. Now here's where it gets real. Some of you are afraid that if you truly become happy alone, you'll end up alone forever. That's the lie. Fear sells you that if you stop needing people, they'll stop wanting you. But that's backwards. When you stop needing people, you start attracting the right people. When you stop performing for approval, you start receiving authentic connection. When you stop settling out of fear, you start selecting from strength. The right people are not intimidated by your wholeness. They're inspired by it. The right people don't want you broken so they can fix you. They want you whole so they can build with you. The right people don't see your independence as a threat. They see it as a foundation. And those are the only people worth having in your life. But you'll never attract them if you're still operating from desperation. You'll never recognize them if you're still addicted to dysfunction. You'll never keep them if you're still performing instead of being. And that's why this season matters. This is where you break the cycle. This is where you learn new patterns. This is where you discover that the version of you that knows how to be happy alone is the same version of you that's ready for everything you've been praying for. I need you to hear this. Your value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see it. Read that again. Your value does not decrease based on someone's inability to see it. That job that didn't hire you, they lost. That relationship that ended, they lost. That friendship that faded, they lost. You did not lose value because someone failed to recognize it. You lost dead weight, and dead weight only slows you down. Stop measuring your worth by who stayed and who left. Start measuring it by how you show up for yourself every single day. Did you keep your promises to yourself? Did you honor your boundaries? Did you invest in your growth? Did you choose peace over chaos? Did you protect your energy? Did you stay true to your vision even when no one was watching? That's the measurement that matters. Not how many people are in your circle, but how authentic you are inside it. There's something I want you to consider about time. Time reveals everything. It reveals who was real and who was performing. It reveals what was solid and what was illusion. It reveals which foundations can withstand storms and which collapse at the first sign of pressure. And right now, in this season of solitude, time is doing its work in you. It's revealing the truth about who you are when the audience leaves. It's showing you what you're really made of when the support system crumbles. It's teaching you that your strength was never borrowed. It was always yours. And here's what time is also doing. It's separating you from people who were only meant to be in your life for a season. Some people are lifetime people. Some are seasoned people. And most of the pain you're experiencing right now is because you're trying to make seasoned people into lifetime people. You're trying to force them to stay in a chapter they were never written into. You're trying to resurrect what was meant to rest. But time keeps moving, and you need to move with it. You need to honor the seasons. You need to recognize when something has run its course. You need to have the courage to close doors that are draining the life out of you, even if those doors have familiar names attached to them. Because staying in expired seasons doesn't honor the past. It delays the future. Listen to me. You are not going backwards. You're not losing ground. You're not failing because you're alone right now. You are evolving. You are ascending. You're being prepared for a level of life that requires a different version of you. And that version can only be forged in solitude. That version can only emerge when you stop depending on others to define you, complete you, or validate you. Think about a diamond. Before it becomes that brilliant, precious stone that everyone admires, it's just carbon, common, ordinary, unremarkable. But then it goes through intense pressure, unimaginable heat, crushing weight, isolation, deep beneath the surface where no one can see it, no one can help it, no one can rescue it. And in that place of extreme pressure and total solitude, transformation happens. The ordinary becomes extraordinary. The common becomes priceless. The overlooked becomes invaluable. You in the pressure right now, and I know it hurts. I know it's uncomfortable. I know you feel like you're breaking, but you're not breaking, you're breaking through. You're not being destroyed, you're being refined. And when you emerge from this, you won't be the same person who entered. You'll be stronger, clearer, more valuable, more resilient, more dangerous to anything that tries to diminish you. And here's what you need to understand about that transformation. It cannot happen in a crowd. It cannot happen while you're distracted. It cannot happen while you're performing. It can only happen in the furnace of solitude, where it's just you and your maker, you and your purpose, you and your potential, having an honest conversation about who you're going to become. So stop fighting the process. Stop resisting the pressure. Stop running from the solitude. Embrace it, welcome it, use it. Because this is not your punishment, this is your privilege. You're being given the opportunity to become who you were always meant to be, without the interference of people who don't understand your assignment, without the distraction of relationships that were holding you back, without the weight of expectations that were never yours to carry. Now get up, wipe your face, stop mourning what's gone and start building what's coming. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are a product of your decisions. And the decision to be happy, that's yours to make. Not tomorrow, not next week, not when life gets better. Right now, today, this moment. Choose yourself. Choose peace. Choose purpose. And watch how your life transforms when you stop waiting for someone else to make you whole and you start becoming whole all by yourself. You were born complete. You were born with everything you need. You were born to thrive, not just survive. And the moment you believe that, not in your head, but in your spirit, is the moment everything changes. That's when you stop begging. That's when you stop settling. That's when you stop performing. That's when you become dangerous. Dangerous to fear, dangerous to doubt, dangerous to every lie that ever told you that you needed someone else to be enough. You are enough. You were always enough. And it's time you started living like it. Time you started walking like it. Time you started believing it so deeply that no rejection can shake you, no abandonment can break you, no loneliness can defeat you, because you finally learned the greatest lesson life can teach, that the most important relationship you'll ever have is the one you have with yourself. And when that relationship is solid, everything else becomes optional, not essential. Beautiful, not necessary. A blessing, not a requirement. That's freedom. That's power. That's the life you were meant to live. And it starts right now, in this moment, with you choosing to be happy alone. Not because you have to, but because you finally learned how to. And let me tell you something else. The world is waiting for the version of you that emerges from this season. Not the broken you, not the needy you, not the desperate you, but the you that has stared into the mirror of solitude and fallen in love with what you saw. The you that has walked through fire and come out refined. The you that has sat in silence long enough to hear the voice of your calling. That version of you, that version is going to change lives. That version is going to inspire nations. That version is going to leave a legacy that outlives your lifespan. But that version will never emerge if you keep running from yourself. That version will never show up if you keep hiding in the noise. That version will never manifest if you keep settling for shallow connections that distract you from deep transformation. You have to be willing to let go of everything that's comfortable to grab hold of everything that's destined. And here's the final truth I need you to carry with you. Being happy alone doesn't mean you'll always be alone. It means you'll never be lonely. There's a massive difference. Lonely people need others to feel alive. Happy people invite others to share the life they've already built. Lonely people are looking for someone to complete them. Happy people are looking for someone to celebrate with them. Lonely people enter relationships from emptiness. Happy people enter relationships from overflow. So fill your cup first. Build your life first. Discover your purpose first. Fall in love with your journey first. And then only then will you be ready for the kind of love, the kind of friendship, the kind of connection that doesn't drain you but multiplies you. That doesn't shrink you but expands you. That doesn't complete you, but complements you. That's the promise waiting on the other side of this season. That's the reward for those who learn to be happy alone. Not isolation, not loneliness, but connection from a place of wholeness. Relationship from a foundation of strength. Love from a position of completeness. So stop waiting. Stop wishing. Stop hoping someone will come rescue you. Rescue yourself. Choose yourself. Love yourself, complete yourself, and watch what happens when you finally become the person you've been waiting for all along.